Is This a Great Game or What? With the Hall of Famer Tim Kirkshin. I'm his son, Jeff Kirkshin. And Dad, I'm gonna speak loudly during this episode because I know you're dealing with a bit of double swimmer's ear. Can you hear me all right?
Right. I've been in the pool so much here at the beach the last 3 days that I can't hear out of either ear. And I lost my glasses for 4 hours the other day, so I couldn't see and I couldn't hear for a 4-hour period. It made a difficult day at the beach. Every other part of the beach has been great.
And I asked you while we were on the beach earlier today, I said, all right, well, which ear is your bad ear? I'll sit on the opposite side, so at least I'm closer to you. I can tell you're reading my lips right now. And you said, they're both terrible, so we just have to shout. And I said, there's going to be no problem for me, that's for sure.
Right. All that matters is we got through the beach this morning because the seas were,
rough that day, my friend.
The water was so rough today that here I am. It was like we were taught in high school how to play basketball. Always stay between your man and the basket. To me, the last couple days, I've had to stay between the children and the ocean to make sure nobody gets by. That's how rough things were. And I must say, if it weren't for me, there could have been big trouble on the beach today. I had more saves than Mariano Rivera today, so it's all good.
Yeah, you were your very own Tim Kirkshin Baywatch.
Right.
You looked great out there.
Last guy who should be on Baywatch, me.
With your 6'4" double play equals 2 t-shirt, which from our friends at Baseballism, you've had that shirt for a million years.
Yeah, and I wear it at the beach every year just in case somebody happens to wander by and looks at me and just shakes his head like, what the heck does that mean? Or, why are you wearing that here?
It's worth noting, too, that our last episode that we recorded here at the beach, we did in this movie theater in the basement of this massive house because, Dad, the same families have been going to the beach for like 50 years. And now we have kids and grandchildren everywhere, so we need a big, big house. But we reversed our positioning because now, instead of sitting in the audience, so to speak, of the movie theater, we are up at the front because we have some friends who wanted to kind of watch along. Hi, everybody. Some family.
And your mom, Cat is here. The Daly family is here. The Gribbles are here. And Sam and Jess are here. Right. How about that?
You know, big shout out to Dante. Dante is the oldest of the third generation to come to the beach, the very first one, born in 2011. And he was watching the podcast on the deck of the house the other day, watching our interview with Jesse Cole.
Right. And it must be noted that Dante's dad is Scott Gribble, who's 6'9". So we asked Frank at the Elias, has there ever been two families at the beach with dads, one at 6'9", the other's 5'5" like me? It's the largest disparity in height ever between two families at the beach.
Yeah, watching you two cook in the same kitchen is just hysterical.
And by the way, we watched, this must be noted, so we watched Coco in this room, as we mentioned on Monday, for the first time. I've never seen Coco before. What a great movie that was. I cried like a baby at the end. But what I realized when I heard the big song, Remember Me, when you call ESPN Travel to reserve a flight or something, you're always put on hold, always. And the song that comes up while you're waiting is Remember Me. So I cry all the time when I hear it when I call ESPN, and then I cried I didn't know that was the song. I didn't know that's where it was from, so now I know.
Hopefully you have a better memory of it now instead of patiently waiting to get on the line with travel so you can get across the country to go to whatever playoff series you're going to. Speaking of, Dad, these pennant races are unbelievably exciting right now.
Right. So, Jeff, I got up at 4:30 in the morning
Naturally.
on Wednesday yesterday to make sure I knew everything that was going on. And about 5 things happened in the major leagues that made me rethink who's making the playoffs, who isn't going to make the playoffs, who's going to win the division. This is how the entire season has gone, a complete free-for-all, a complete fistfight from beginning to end. And I still, with 6 days left in the regular season, 5 days left, I'm not sure what's going to happen. This is the ultimate beauty of baseball.
Yeah, shout out to my friend Matt Friedman, big Detroit Tigers fan. He said in the stage of grief, he's in anger right now.
Right.
He texted and said that's the stage he's in right now because the Tigers, the Guardians, the Mariners, everything's getting very exciting across Major League Baseball.
But my state is incredulous right now, Jeff, because on Monday we did the Team Tim. And Team Tim was the all-beach team made up of former major leaguers and current major leaguers. It was a pretty easy one to do. Chris Coast, Drew Waters, And we got 6 different lists from people based on our list on Monday. All right, for some reason, we got the all-Pixar list from Craig Cole.
Coco,
right, that's where it came from.
Movie.
Since we had Kevin Brown as our guest yesterday, Wednesday, Eric Moyer came up with the all Crayola team with colors because we had
that's a good
Kevin Brown. Because I've mentioned so many times how much I love sitcoms from the 60s, we had the all Green Acres team by John Schnitzer, which is ridiculous. And the best one, of course, was by Brian Dill, who wrote to us after he said, how can you go to the Outer Banks to Kitty Hawk and not do the All-Aviation team? It's a good point. So, since Brian challenged us and sent us his own list, which is great, I decided to have a little fun with it, and we're going to join forces, and we will announce the All-Aviation team at the end of the episode.
I mean, you did take Carson, age 4, to the Wright brothers museum and memorial out there with Cat Cat.
Right, Cat Cat and I took Carson. We had the greatest time. He's only 4, and I was amazed how much he wanted to learn about the Wright brothers. And the Wright brothers are very big, of course, in the all-aviation team.
And, not to mention, the only thing he wanted was more airplanes.
Yes.
So Cat Cat said, we're taking him to the Air and Space Museum because there was really only one there. And I want to give a shout out to Willie Weinbaum as well. I gave my all theater team, and he added to that. So these are names that kind of lend themselves to musical productions.
Right. Give Cat Cat one of the examples. Well, who was your catcher?
My catcher, Bye Bye Birdie Tebbets.
Right.
Who Dad has a personal story with.
Right, which we've already said. The point is, Jeff took all the shows that he appeared in high school and found major league players to go along with it. And then our pal Willie Weinbaum, who weighs in on every show we've done, making suggestions, edits, because he's a producer at ESPN. He added a few. Give us a couple that Willie added.
Another show I appeared in, Into the Gary Woods, which is pretty great. Edgar Renteria, great musical. Of course, Lion King Kelly, right. My Fair Lady Baldwin, and Book of Russ Moorman.
All right. That's enough.
Fiddler on the Phil Roof.
Right.
Okay, I'm done.
That was beautiful.
That's my last one.
Point is, people are interested in the most pointless thing that we do every week, but we got to keep it up because this is what people really care about.
We were really worried when we would get to the end of the from Ozzie to Orel. What are we going to talk about? Right. We could just do 10 Team Tims a day. People would love it.
Right. That's all they seem to care about here. Well, what they should be caring about are our takeaways because the pennant races, as we said, have really heated up. The Guardians from Cleveland have caught the Tigers. This is unbelievable. They were 15 and a half games out of first place, and now they have taken over possession of first place in the American League Central. No team has ever been 15 and a half games out in a division or league and come back to win it. So that's what the Tigers are now trying to do. And for the Quirkins, we'll get into a classic Guardians victory, which we'll go into. Also, the Padres are now only a game and a half through Tuesday, a game and a half behind the Dodgers in the NL West. The Yankees are only 1 game behind the Blue Jays in the AL East. The Mariners have come from nowhere now to clinch the AL West. It's over. They're going to win that division. And the Mets were 5 runs down against the Cubs in a game they absolutely had to win, and they came back to beat the Cubs in the biggest victory of the season. First time this year that the Mets have been 5 runs down and came back to win, and the first time this year that the Cubs were up by 5 runs in a game and lost. That's what happens this week in baseball. It's been an incredible week for the game.
And Dad, do you have a couple Quirkins? I know these Thursday episodes are tough because we only have a couple games to work with.
I only have a couple days to work with. So the bottom of the 6th inning in Cleveland the other night was just ridiculous. Rick Vaughn, my dear friend, he texted me and said, "Are you watching the Cleveland game?" And I'm thinking, no, I'm not. I'm at the beach with all my knucklehead friends.
I'm playing lifeguard saving lives out here.
Right. There's no TV here that's going to get the Guardians game. But in the bottom of the 6th inning, the Tigers have a lead. And this is so classic of the Guardians, who have a terrible offensive team, and yet they're leading the division. I don't know how they're doing it, but it's a tribute to their players, management, everyone, how they're doing this. So first guy gets a bunt single, which never happens. Next guy bunts also, which 2 bunts in a row, almost unheard of. And then Tarek Skubal, the pitcher for the Tigers, who's the best pitcher in the American League, makes a throwing error on the bunt. Then there's an infield hit. So 3 hits and not one ball has left the infield yet. Then Tarek Skubal throws a wild pitch to score a run. Ooh. Then he strikes out David Fry, and this I'll explain the rest of this. David Fry gets hit in the face. It bunts it like right into his head.
Yeah,
foul ball, and they have to take him out of the game. Okay. So they bring in a pinch hitter, but before that happened, or while that happens, a wild pitch scores a run. And then the next guy, George Valera, comes up, pinch hitting for David Fry, okay? Now, he comes in with 2 balls and 2 strikes, and he takes strike 3, but he doesn't get credit for the strikeout. David Fry gets credit for the strikeout because he had 2 strikes on him when they took him out of the game. So this poor guy is nursing a knot on the top of his forehead and a serious face injury, and he gets credit for a strikeout because George Valera took strike 3. It's amazing.
He was probably more upset about the strikeout than he was about the injury to his head.
Right.
Baseball players aren't messing around.
Absolutely. So then Tarek Skubal balked, and then there was an infield ground out that scored a run, and then a strikeout. So the Guardians scored 3 runs in that inning, did not hit a ball out of the infield, and Tarek Skubal became the second pitcher in 30 years. Reese Olson, his teammate now, is the only other one to have a balk, a throwing error, and a wild pitch in the same inning. How about that?
And he's probably going to win the AL Cy Young.
He is going to win the AL Cy Young. That was an amazing game. All right. Now, Jeff, we've been doing the hat tricks all season, so we got to keep updating. Another hat trick for Giancarlo Stanton. That's 3 strikeouts or more in a major league game, so that's number 169 in his career. The record is 173 by Adam Dunn. I think it's fair to say Giancarlo Stanton has a lot of time left in his big league career. He's going to demolish that record. Also, Jeff, the Orioles have now are the only team without a guy who hit 20 home runs. In fact, they don't have anyone who has 18 home runs this year, as many as 18. Their leader through Tuesday had 17. They had 6 guys last year that had 18 or more homers. So the last teams that didn't have a 20 home run hitter during the course of the season was 2022, the Marlins, the Tigers, and the White Sox. And the Orioles, who were supposed to be a really good offensive team, I think are going to join that club, that group this year. Isn't that amazing?
It's so sad, too, because it's such a young team and so much hope and a couple playoff appearances in the past, and now they're looking like they're looking. Speaking of the Orioles, we had Major League broadcaster, Orioles broadcaster Kevin Brown on the podcast yesterday, Dad, and I received so many text messages, including one from Ben Fontana, who also Syracuse graduate, was my roommate in Cleveland, roommate Ben, and he texted me, said Kevin Brown was hilarious. I'm just sad we didn't remark on how great of a beer pong player he was in college. Kevin
Brown was a
great beer pong player, according to Ben Fontana.
Well, Kevin Brown made us laugh out loud at least 20 times during that. He's so wicked smart. And he's a Syracuse guy like you, yeah.
Yeah, maybe we'll see him at Sphere in Las Vegas at some point.
The Sphere. Right, we learned that lesson the hard way.
Absolutely. All right, Dad, do you have on this date in baseball history?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite little things. We look at this date in baseball history. So September 25, 1955, Al Kaline won a batting title at age 20. And remember, what did Al Kaline tell me? Al Kaline, one of the great players of all time. What did he tell me once about his high school basketball career?
I can't remember.
He told me
he's a better basketball player.
High school basketball player than a baseball player, and he won a batting title at age 20. On this date in 1963, the Cardinals retired number 6, which is the number worn by
Stan Musial.
Way to go, Jeff.
Of course.
You are learning so much.
Thank you.
Jeff, before the podcast, you would not have known this, right?
Thank you. They said the Daily Family said if I got like one of your many trivia questions right, they would applaud. So thank you for that.
All right, Jeff, what is the statistical anomaly about Stan Musial, which I've used on this podcast multiple times?
Well, it's funny. A lot of people commented about it because, and hopefully I'm going down the right path here, Mike Trout just hit his 400th home run, 200 at home, 200 on the road, and it was Francisco Lindor.
Right.
Just hit
168 at home, 168 on the road, 168. No, wait, 138.
Yeah,
138 at home, 138 on the road, 138 for the Guardians, Indians, and 138 for the Mets. Seriously. So the statistical anomaly for Stan Musial: 1,815 hits at home, 1,815 hits on the road, 3,630 hits. Exactly divided between home and road.
That's so impressive.
Your grandfather Pop was a mathematician. What is the probability of that happening? It's almost impossible.
I can't crunch those numbers without ChatGPT.
All right. On this date in 1984, Rusty Staub hit a home run, and he became the first player since Ty Cobb to hit a home run as a teenager and then as a 40-year-old.
Wow.
So Gary Sheffield has since done that. So Rusty Staub used to play for the Montreal Expos, where, of course, they speak French in Montreal back then. So Gene Mauch was the manager of the Expos, and he said, I knew that Rusty Staub had beaucoup power before I even knew what the word beaucoup meant. That's how strong Rusty Staub was. He was a great player. On this date in 2003, Carlos Delgado hit 4 home runs in one game. What is the distinction of Carlos Delgado?
He has the most home runs of anybody with the last name D.
Right. Jeff, you are learning so much from Papa.
Thank you, Daily
And
Family.
I'm not suggesting for a second that this is healthy.
No.
It is showing that Jeffrey is listening and he's learning. I'm learning about music. It's not country western music. It's country music.
Yeah, I taught you that like 8 years ago. We started the podcast 2 years ago.
I still stumble with it once in a while. But we had Kenny Chesney out at the pool the other day.
We did.
Right.
Playing on the speaker, not playing in person.
Yeah, that would have been pretty good. All right, 2014, Derek Jeter played his final home game. Do you remember what happened in Derek Jeter's final regular season home game?
He had a walk-off single.
He got a walk-off single against the Orioles. How great is that?
In a very important Derek Jeter way, right? Like it was just a Derek Jeter hit.
Single to the opposite field.
It was incredible. And 3,000th hit was a home run.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Jeff.
Fun fact.
You're not supposed to stump the master here.
Didn't hit a lot of home runs in his career. So it's interesting. I mean, Barry Bonds hits his 300th hit. It's a home run. It makes sense. But
And who else hit a home run for his 3,000th hit? You sang karaoke with him.
Oh, Wade Boggs.
Right. For those of you who don't know, at the Hall of Fame, 3 years ago, I walked down into the bar at like midnight, and my son Jeff is singing karaoke with Hall of Famer Wade Boggs, who I'm guessing had 30 beers at the time. It's pretty sure. And you were probably not that far behind that night.
It's my claim to fame. I mean, I want that on my tombstone. Like father, son, husband, karaoke partner with Wade Boggs. What do you think?
I love it. All right, last one. On this date in 1952, Sal Butera was born. He had a son, Drew Butera, who played in the major leagues, and they are the only father-son position players in major league history to have both pitched in a major league game. I find that interesting. A lot of position players pitch in the major leagues now because you're running out of pitchers. Only fathers and son to do that. So I saw Sal Butera in spring training last year, and I reminded him of that, and he told me the whole story of the day he pitched. He remembered the day his son Drew pitched more than once, but he told me the whole story about the day they brought him in to pitch. It's amazing what people remember.
Yeah, the recall of these players is kind of insane. It's like Jim Palmer is able to tell you what he threw on an 0-2 count back in 19 God knows what year.
Right.
And I wish I had Kevin Brown right now to do the impression, because that impression of Jim Palmer, unbelievably good.
Right. Jeffrey and I laugh for, what was it, 3 minutes straight as Kevin Brown went on with the Jim Palmer impersonation. If you haven't heard it and you know Jim Palmer at all, it's worth the price of listening to this episode just for Kevin Brown on Jim Palmer.
We had somebody message us and say they went back and listened to our interview with Jim Palmer just to hear how accurate the impression was, and they said it was spot on. Which is incredible. So coming up next here on Is This a Great Game or What? We'll go from Ozzie to Orel. We'll do our best of all Tim when it comes to the athletics and our team Tim. Plus, we're going to get to introduce this segment to Mom.
Right,
which
because we're doing this as a tribute to Cat because we'll explain when we get there. 3 Cards in the Bathroom is the name of the new segment, and it's all because of Cat.
It's coming up next. All right, welcome back to Is This a Great Game or What? Dad, we do have your wife, my mom, Kathy, in the room right now. 3 Cards in the Bathroom. We're going to make you hang on to that one a little bit longer, Mom, to try to guess what in the world that means.
Mom has no idea, nor should anyone else have any idea.
Yeah, no, not at all. So we'll start with from Ozzie to Orel. So for those who don't know, and we had a great listener who was listening saying, what is Ozzie to Orel? Thinking it was like Australian to some sort of dental procedure. No, it's from Ozzie Smith, the greatest number 1 of all time, to Orel Hershiser, the greatest 55 of all time. We're counting down the greatest players to wear each number according to the Hall of Famer Tim Kirkshin. So from Ozzie to Orel, we are now on number 48.
And we always make this clear. This is my choice for the greatest player at each. It's not the right choice. It's not the correct choice. If you have a different guy, give it to me. I'm just saying this is who I would choose. And there were 2 really difficult ones this week. Number 48, I'm taking Torrey Hunter, really good outfielder, over the Gator, Ralph Garr, who could really hit. But Torrey Hunter made the All-Star team 5 times. He won 8 Gold Gloves, one of the great defensive center fielders I've ever seen. And you saw him make a great catch.
I believe it was in Seattle, right?
It was not.
No, Milwaukee. For the All-Star game.
Who hit it?
He hit it, Barry Bonds?
Yes.
Barry Bonds.
What did Barry Bonds do when he ran out to the field for the next inning? He picked Torrey Hunter up over his shoulder like, how dare you rob a home run from me?
And if I'm not mistaken, too, there was a display, and I remember it like it was yesterday, despite being like only 8 years old, a display of a player on the outfield wall, like stretching to make a catch, and then Torrey Hunter basically did that right next to the display piece. Right. It was perfect.
It was incredible. So Torrey Hunter did a lot of great things with the Twins. He was one of the leaders of the team. He learned from Kirby Puckett, and then he taught all the young Twins. Then he went to the Angels, and Mike Trout will tell you, Albert Pujols and Torrey Hunter really taught him how to play the game, which is another reason we have him as number 48. But in one of my superstition stories that I wrote, Torrey Hunter, I said to him, what's your superstition? He goes, my spikes have to be completely polished before every game. And he said, and I don't let the clubhouse kid polish my spikes. I do it myself because I need my spikes to look great. And he goes, if I hit, say, a double in the first inning and I have to slide into second, when I come running off the field, I will take out my shoe shine kit and shine my shoes before I go out in the bottom of the first inning. That's how much it meant to him.
Really?
As he once told me, and I'm quoting here, and this is Torrey trying to be funny. He said, if you look good, you play good. If you play good, they pay good. So thank you, Torrey, for that. All right, number 49, this was another really difficult one. I'm taking Hall of Fame pitcher Hoyt Wilhelm, who wore a bunch of other numbers, but 49 was the first one that he wore. And I picked him over Ron Guidry. And you know what his nickname was, Jeff? The Gator. So the 2 guys that I have in second place on From Ozzie to Orel, both are nicknamed Gator.
And you just said, see you later, alligator.
Right.
Sorry, you're not winning this one.
All right, so Hoyt Wilhelm saved 228 games. He had a 2.52 ERA. He made 8 All-Star teams. He pitched until he was 49 years old. Wow. He won a World Series ring with the 54 Giants. He got he got MVP votes in 4 different seasons, which is really hard for a relief pitcher to do. And Paul Richards, one of the great old baseball guys ever, former catcher, former manager, former executive. He was with the Rangers when I started covering them in '82. He told me the hardest pitch of any pitch in the history of baseball, the hardest pitch to hit was Hoyt Wilhelm's knuckleball, because it just danced. The catcher couldn't catch it, the umpire couldn't call it, and the hitter couldn't hit it. That's how good his knuckleball was. So this is a terrible story, but I'm going to tell it anyway. So I'm doing a story. This is a true story, and this almost killed me. I'm doing a story on knuckleball pitchers, like how important they are and how difficult it is to throw a knuckleball. So I arranged to call Hoyt Wilhelm on the phone. Now, he's a crusty old man on a good day, okay? So he says, call me at 7 o'clock in my hotel room. So I call him at 7, no answer. I call 7:15, 7:30, all the way up until 10 o'clock at night. Now I'm thinking, he must be out. Something must be wrong. So finally, at 10 o'clock at night, I ring through to Hoyt Wilhelm's room. And of course, I wake him up, and he starts screaming at me, how dare you wake me up? You were supposed to call me at 7 o'clock tonight. I said, Hoyt, I've called you every 15 minutes since 7 p.m. And he says, well, I'm going back to sleep. I ended up finding him later, and I got the story. I called the front desk of the hotel and said, what happened? I called every 15 minutes looking for this guy, because this is pre-cell phones.
Right.
And he says, sorry, sir, we have 2 Hoyt Wilhelms in the hotel tonight. Are you kidding me? Hoyt Wilhelm? That nobody in the world has that name. There are 2 in the same hotel on the same night. He screamed at me, and I deserved every bit of it.
His name is my name, too.
Oh, my God. It was so bad.
All right, Dad. Well, we're going through I don't even know how many of these we've done this season.
We have 3 to go.
We have 3 to go.
Yeah,
you know that.
Perfect timing. Pop figured this out. All right.
Best of all, Tim, the best player at every single organization. And today we have the Athletics.
Right, and this was really hard because the Athletics are no longer the Oakland A's, but they were the Oakland A's, then they were the Kansas City A's, then they were the Philadelphia A's, which goes way back to the early 1900s. So I had a lot of people to choose from. I should probably have taken Eddie Plank, who was a great pitcher, won over 300 games, but we need him for the all-pirate team when we get there.
Walk the Eddie Plank.
Right, okay. So I picked Rickey Henderson, pretty safe choice. Rickey Henderson played 14 years for the A's, stole 867 bases at an 839 OPS. We've been over Rickey, how great he is. One of the 15 or 20 greatest players of all time. Greatest leadoff man ever. Incredible.
I would say of season 2 of Is This a Great Game or What? Jokes aside, maybe the most mentioned player. Former player, I should say.
Other than Walter Johnson?
Other than Walter Johnson, of course.
Right.
But I didn't go to Rickey Henderson High School. So.
How many weeks in a row do you think we've had Walter Johnson? Some mention of him on the show.
You know, I think
everyone
committed a grave error this week on Tuesday, not mentioning him for the Tuesday episode. I don't think we mentioned Walter Johnson on Tuesday.
When Tim Daly, who's here, right up there, went to Walter Johnson High School.
Oh,
I think we did.
We must have.
Go check the tape.
Check the tape.
Right.
Yeah, we'll send our staff and our interns on that. That's just me. That's my job.
Okay.
All right, Dad. Well, you promised it. The All-Aviation team, which was challenged to you from a member of our family, one of our listeners.
Brian Dill, we love Brian Dill. He writes in and says, how could you leave out the All-Aviation team when you go on vacation to the Outer Banks of Kitty Hawk, North Carolina? Brian, you're right. I picked the All-Beach team first. I thought it was even more relevant. So I added some of my... we can't just use his. I think I made it slightly better, even though his is great, okay? So his catcher on the All-Aviation team is Jet Bandy.
Perfect.
The first baseman is Kitty Bransfield. He played in the early 1900s. Where are we, Jeff?
Kitty Hawk.
Kitty Bransfield.
Genius.
Pat Rocket is our second baseman. So we've gone from the Wright brothers to a Rocket. Pat Rocket was really a shortstop. We had to fudge this.
Well, I thought you were going to use Roger the Rocket Clemens.
We thought about that too, but no nicknames involved. No nicknames involved. We're trying not to. The third baseman was a real stretch. It's Jan Bruthers. It sounds like brothers, almost spelled like brothers. And the brothers, of course, are huge here in the Wright brothers.
The Wright brothers, yeah.
So our shortstop is George Wright, who's a Hall of Famer.
Wait, so you're telling me you got Wright and Brothers next to each other, shortstop and third base?
I arranged it this way.
Excellent.
Right. Now, Dan Bruthers was really a first baseman, but he played 2 games at third base. So we have Dan Bruthers at third. Our shortstop is George Wright, Hall of Famer. And our first outfielder is Harry Wright, who is George Wright's real brother. And they played in the major leagues. So we have the Wright brothers lined up. I mean, seriously. So
good job.
Brian Dill's list was way better than mine. He provided most of these, but I thought we had to get the Wright brothers in there somehow. Then we have Sky Bolt, also a Brian Dill.
Love him.
We had Wilbur Howard, outfielder. Orville Jurgens is one of our pitchers. So we have Wilbur and Orville.
Right.
And then we have Ken Cloud. And then with our last one, I had no idea, but Brian came up with this, Ed Hawk. So we have Kitty Hawk represented on the all. So Brian Dill, thank you very much for that.
That was excellent. Brian Dill has sent us quite a few messages. If you ever want to message us, you can do so. GreatGameOrWhat.com. It's that easy. You scroll down. We finally figured out Dad's phone in order to allow him to respond to messages, which is great. You're doing a great job. I always get a message when you respond to them, and I'm as you would say, I'm so proud of you. So way to go, Dad. You figured out the technology.
All right, so the last segment of the show is a new one. It's called 3 Cards in the Bathroom. Not to be confused with 3 Coins in a Fountain, which is a favorite song. But Kathy, my wife, your mother, she set up our entire basement with just a tribute to baseball. It's an incredible thing that she did, decorating the entire basement with pictures and pennants and everything else. Well, in the bathroom, and I just noticed this recently, there's a stack of baseball cards, maybe 300 of them, in the bathroom.
And it's worth noting, too, the mirror, which was like a builder grade, very generic mirror, which if you know my mother, nothing can be generic or builder grade around her home. So she decided, instead of replacing it with some fancy looking mirror, she kind of like paper mache, I guess you could say, kind of like glued down cards around the border of the mirror because it's a baseball themed bathroom. It's orange. There's a picture of Cal Ripken Jr. on 21-31, which we just found out my wife Emily was born on the day that Cal Ripken Jr. broke Lou Gehrig's record, September 6, 1995.
And we did a whole show on it. We led with it, and then he finally says, oh my gosh, Emily is born on this date.
On her birthday, I'm watching the Orioles do this whole presentation for the 30th anniversary, and it was my wife's 30th birthday. I mean, just talk about over our heads. We almost retired from podcasting that day.
We are terrible. So, in honor of Kathy Kirkchin, we have a new segment called 3 Cards in the Bathroom.
You know, one day, next time we record the podcast at your house, which happens from time to time, instead of taking them from the stack of cards that are there, we should sit on the sink counter and just point at the cards on the mirror, and we'll do it that way.
Well,
we're small enough. We could both sit on a counter together.
I'm sure. So I just grabbed, I don't even know how many cards are here. You have to pick 3. Any 3.
Any 3.
You can mix them up. I don't know who they are.
Why don't we have Dante come down here? Dante, come down. So this is Dante Gribble, new fan of the podcast. As I mentioned before, the first grandchild of the Beach family. Dante, you're taller than both of us, so we're going to stay sitting so we don't look that small. Here, stand right in the middle. Come here.
Dante is a freshman in high school. And I asked his dad today, I said, how tall do you think Dante's going to be? Because his dad is 6'9". He goes, he'll be at least 6'8" or 6'9". I'm thinking, how could that be? That's impossible. All right, Dante, this is quite an honor that you are on this show for a new segment, pretty much sponsored by Cat here. Woo! All right, so Jeff,
I want to let you know.
Fan them out and have Dante pick one. I hope I got a story about these guys.
I had to adjust the camera because he looked like every adult in kids' TV shows where they never get to see the adult's face. It was just neck and down.
Right.
So thank you, Dante. All right, I'm going to give you the cards. You take
Dante
one at a time.
Dante wearing a Jaws shirt today. I'll never put on a life jacket again.
Hand it over to him.
Okay.
All right.
You have to call it out.
Okay.
I hope this is really.
We'll let Dante do it. Can you read that in cursive? It's a little. There you go. There's the back one. Okay, here. Grab the mic. Okay. Good job.
Harold Craig Reynolds.
Oh my gosh, Harold Reynolds.
Harold Reynolds. What a great pull.
Harold Reynolds is my former teammate at ESPN. One of my favorite people in the whole world. We did 1,000 baseball tonights together. I have 100 Harold Reynolds stories, but one is he was when he was with the Mariners early in his career. And the Mariners weren't very good. He's running through the streets wearing a Mariners sweatshirt, and this lady stops him and says, "Are you in the Marines?" Like that. So she got Mariners and Marines mixed up. But the best Harold Reynolds story, and we need Buck Showalter for this, but we were doing a demonstration on how to do a proper takeout slide. That is going in and knocking the second baseman over. Here's how you do the proper takeout slide. And Harold was a second baseman. So Buck Showalter is the runner. And everything that Buck does, he does 100%. I mean, it has to be done perfectly. So Buck looks at the cameraman. Buck is dressed in a three-piece suit. And Buck looks at the cameraman and he says, it's taped. He goes, we're only doing this one time, so you better get it right. And Buck goes in a three-piece suit, slides on the ground, knocks Harold up in the air, and Harold is howling with laughter as he hits the ground because he should have known that Buck was going to do this to him.
It's so
million Harold Reynolds stories. We're going to get Harold on the podcast because he's such a playful, fun-loving guy. All right, I got lucky on that one.
All right, Dante, pull another one, pull it out, and announce it.
Gary Ward.
Oh, boy. Gary Ward played for the Texas Rangers when I covered the team. And this is really sad. But Gary Ward, well, it's a really good story in the end. Gary Ward, at the end of the 84 season in September, he got hit right here with a pitch by Dan Petrie, right in the face. In the offseason, he got traded from the Twins to the Rangers, the team that I'm covering. And for the first half of the season, he was terrible, and he's a good hitter. He was terrible. So finally, in Baltimore one night, I went to him and I said, look, I don't know what to do with this, but you're not the hitter you used to be. What's going on here? And he said, I got hit in the face last year, and I'm afraid of the ball now.
Wow.
And he said, last night in Baltimore, he said, the next day, he said, I sat in my room at midnight. I turned off all the lights in my room and said, you get over this fear or your career is over. And he got past that fear and had a really good rest of his career. Jeff, this is the difference between Tim, Kim, Cat, Dante, you, me, and Gary Ward. We get hit here, that's it, we're done. He figured out a way to get his courage back and became a really good hitter again.
Yeah, McKinley, my 2-year-old daughter, helped me open a soda once, and it exploded everywhere.
Right.
She doesn't want anything to do with soda cans anymore.
Right.
Her and Gary Ward, two different breeds.
Right.
I'm telling you. Maybe the age played into it a little bit here, but
a little bit. Okay.
All right, Dante, final
Last
card.
one,
for 3
boy,
cards
I got
in the
lucky.
back.
I had one real teammate and a guy covered.
David Valley.
Oh, Dave Valley. All right, Dave Valley. Oh, this is going to be mean, but I have to tell it anyway. Dave Valley played for the Seattle Mariners in 1979, I want to say maybe 1980, in the minor leagues on a team that I covered, the Alexandria Dukes. And he was the number 1 draft choice of the Dukes and ended up having a very good major league career. But this is the bad part. I don't want to embarrass Dave Valley because he was a great guy. But one year in Seattle, he was really struggling with his batting average so badly that a local bar right next to the Kingdome offered happy hour draft beers for the price of Dave Valley's batting average. So Dave Valley was batting like 175. So if you wanted to go in and buy a draft beer at this bar, it cost $1.75 because that was Dave Valley's batting average heading into that day.
Wow. That's a great way of capitalizing on a negative for the team, that's for sure.
Right.
Let's
All right.
give it up for Dante Gribble, everybody.
Thank you, Dante. We've only done 3 cards in the bathroom, and you've been a part of one of them.
That's right. That's right. And shout out to Cat for all of these great baseball cards you found. Big shout out to Kim and Tim Daly, Cat again, for being our in-studio audience, Dad. This was really fun. I had a
Right.
good time.
Now, the next one will be held while I'm in Bristol next week, because I got to tape it while I'm on the road. So we expect all 4 of you to come to Connecticut for the taping.
Dad, that's a good point. The next episode we will release on day 1 of the wild card
playoff.
race. Oh.
Right. And there's a good chance I'll be in Los Angeles covering the Dodgers on the radio. But again, as we said at the beginning of the show, the Dodgers aren't guaranteed now to win the division. So who knows? We'll see where it goes.
So next Tuesday, make sure you are tuned in. Subscribe wherever you're listening right now. Hit that follow button because we want you to be a part of the family. It's that easy. Leave a rating, too, if you have some time. You can watch on YouTube. You can listen on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and at greatgameorwhat.com. Next week, Jeremy Schatt will be our guest during a huge baseball week of Wild Card Week, and he's incredible.
A little teaser for Jeremy Schaap. Jeremy Schaap takes his bills in his wallet, and like a lot of people, lines them up with the denominations. 20s here, followed by 10s, 5s, 1s, and they're all ordered properly. He orders them not just by denomination, but by the mint in which they are printed, which is the oddest thing that I've ever heard. And they're like 13 mints that used to print. So if it's a C, it was minted in Philadelphia.
Right.
I asked him once, what's the C mint? And he looked at me and he goes, Philadelphia, don't waste my time. Like, he knows all of this stuff. He's an amazing guest. He will make you laugh, and he might even make you cry when you hear the episode next week.
So, Mom, if you felt that your husband had some weird isms about his life, Jeremy Schaap will make you feel like there's other men out there like him and other wives who have to deal with it. Thank you so much for listening. And as always, thank you for being a part of our family. Good job, Dad.